Good afternoon, America. Today is Sunday, September the 17th, 117, 110. I'm sorry, 110. I'm not going to read 136 today because it's a long one and it really deserves a reading all to itself. We're just going to reread 134, a psalm of exhortation to bless the Lord. We'll read that and then we will continue the story from yesterday. Psalms 134, of course, is an anonymous psalm and it has only 3 verses, 2 colors, red for discipleship and blue for salvation. The blue is the last verse, verse 3. Verse 1, Behold, bless ye the Lord, all ye servants of the Lord, which by night stand in the house of the Lord. Behold, bless ye the Lord, all ye servants of the Lord, which by night stand in the house of the Lord, to lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless the Lord. Lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless the Lord. 3, the Lord has made heaven and earth. Bless thee out of Zion. 3, the Lord has made heaven and earth. Bless thee out of Zion. Okay, let's continue with our story from yesterday. In 2 Kings, we stopped at 19, and it has 34 verses in it. 18 and 19 were two black verses, and then the last 2 verses, 33 and 34, are also black. And I did mention that we have some uppercase lettering in this particular chapter. We was talking about the man of God that had came from Judea, going into Bethel to announce the birth of Joshua. And while he was in Bethel, he had a moment with Jeroboam, the king. And he also had a set of instructions that he was to go and he was supposed to go to deliver the message, and while he was on his way, he was not to eat bread or drink wine or to accompany anyone to their house. That was the command given to him by God, that he was to not eat, not drink, not eat bread, not drink water, and he was to return home in a different route than the way he came. And the prophet did well. He was on his way home and he happened to be sitting under an oak tree when an old prophet came to him by word of his sons who had been at the sanctuary at the time he was having this conversation with the king Jeroboam. The king stretched out his hand to touch the prophet, and the hand got stuck. He could not move the hand from its stretched out position. And he then asked the prophet to pray unto his God to restore his hand. And the prophet did so, and his hand was restored. And the king said to him, Come to my house, and I will give you a gift or reward. And the prophet said, Even if you were to give me all half of your household, I would not take it from thee, because I am not to eat bread or drink wine while I am here in this place. And this place was Bethel. This is where he was at. So when he was sitting under the oak tree, an old prophet came, and the old prophet knew of his arrival at Bethel by his sons, who were happened to be nearby or in the sanctuary at the time he was talking to the king, and they happened to heard every word exchanged between the prophet. This is an anonymous prophet. They happened to heard the conversation uh, between the prophet of the Lord and the king, and they happened to see that which happened to the king, and the prophet was able to pray for the king and restore the king to his former self. So they share all of this with their father, who's an old prophet. So the father says, saddle his ass, and the son saddle his ass, and the father asks which way did the prophet go, and the sons share with their father which direction the prophet was heading. So he came across the prophet sitting under an old tree. And he said to the prophet, he invited the prophet to come to his house, and the prophet said that he could not accompany him to his house. And he told him why. And he says, I may not return with thee, nor go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink wine with thee in this place. This is verse 16 of 1 Kings 13. And then the prophet, seeking to um, encourage the prophet to come to his house, he then begins to lie to him, and he says, well, I too am a prophet of the Lord, and an angel came to me and told me to invite you over to drink. Okay. The prophet told him a lie. Angel did not come to him and give him any such information. The information he received from his sons, who happened to be in the sanctuary at the time that the prophet was having his conversation with the king. So when the old prophet said this to him, the prophet let down his guard and decided to accompany the old prophet to his home. And the lie he said was that um, he said unto him, I'll start from 17. For it was said to me by the word of the Lord, thou shalt not eat no bread nor drink water there, but nor turn again to go by the way that thou comest. So he had three instructions. 1, no bread. 2, no water. 3, do not go back home the same way you came. So up until that time that he sat under the tree of the oak tree, the prophet was on his game. He was doing exactly what the Lord had commanded him to. But then came this old prophet to change everything and caused the prophet to disobey the words of God. And because he had disobeyed the words of God, God punished him. And when the old prophet sent him away, he got on the ass, and he did not make it very far because he caused a lion to come out and attack the prophet. And the strangest thing about this is that when the lion attacked and killed the prophet, the lion stood there looking at the carcass of the prophet. The donkey stood there looking at the carcass of the prophet. The lion did not make any attempt to eat the donkey, which would have been the appropriate food for a lion. But this is a very strange scenery here. There's a dead prophet, there's a lion and a donkey, and both beasts are looking upon the carcass of this prophet, and the beast, the greater one, the stronger beast, is not making any attempt to attack the ass. So this is kind of strange because, lions would definitely eat a donkey. So when the prophet finds out what has become of the prophet of God, he goes there, he picks up the body, and he buries the body in his very own grave, and he grieves for this prophet. So we're going to start off from from verse 20. And I don't know if I'm going to read it from here or not, but let's continue from my book, verse 20. And it came to pass as they sat, I'm going to move up a little bit to 11. Okay, we'll start off from, for those of you who are joining us, we are in 1 Kings chapter 13, and we're going to start off at 11. Now there dwelled an old prophet in Bethel, and his son came and told him all the works that the man of God had done that day in Bethel. The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father, verbatim. Okay, 12. And their father said unto them, what way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of God went, which came from Judah. 13. And he said unto his son, saddle me the ass. So they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon. 14. And went after the man of God, and found him sitting under an oak. He said unto him, art thou the man of God that cometh from Judah? He asked him, are you the man of God that came from Judah? And he said, I am. 15. Then he said unto him, come home with me and eat bread. 16. And the prophet responds, and he says, I may not return with thee, nor go in with thee, neither will I eat bread, nor drink water with thee in this house. 17. You have some uppercase lettering in 17 also. For it was said to me by the word of the Lord, and here comes the uppercase lettering, thou shalt eat no bread, nor drink water there, nor turn again to go by the way that thou comest. So the instructions was, do not eat any bread, do not drink any water, and do not go back home the same way you came. Okay. 18 and 19 is black for sin. He said unto him, I am a prophet also, as thou art. And an angel spoke unto me by the word of the Lord, saying, bring him back with thee unto thy house, that he may eat bread and drink wine. But he lied unto him. Okay, because the word did not come from an angel. The word came to his sons, as it said in verse 13. And he said unto his sons, as it says in verse 11, that the sons has spoken to them, and he had spoken unto the king and told them everything that had happened that day between the prophet of Judah and the king. So that was a lie. Okay, so 19. So he went back with him and did eat bread in his house and drank wine, and drank water. I'm sorry. 20. This is gold for prophecy all the way to 26. And it came to pass as they sat at the table that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet that brought him back, which was the old prophet. And here comes some uppercase lettering. 21. And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah. So he cried unto him, saying, thus said the Lord, for as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee. 22. That is all uppercase lettering. I'll read it again. For as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee. 22. Still uppercase lettering. But cometh back and has eaten bread and drank water in the place of the which the Lord did say to thee, eat no bread and drink no wine, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. Okay, burial grounds of your fathers. That sepulchre is a burial place. 23, all the way to 26 is still gold. And it came to pass after he had eaten bread and after he had drank, that he saddled for him the ass, to wit for the prophet whom he had brought back. 24. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way and slew him, and his carcass was cast in the way, and the ass stood by it, and the lion also stood by the carcass. So these both animals are looking, standing by this carcass of the prophet, and just looking at it, just staring at it. 25. And behold, men passed by and saw the carcass cast in a way, and the lion standing by the carcass, and they came and told it to in the city where the old prophet dwelt. 26. And when the prophet that brought him back from the way heard thereof, he said, it is the man of God, who was disobedient unto the word of God. Therefore the Lord has delivered him unto the lion, which has torn him and slay him according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke unto him. He did give him those warnings that his carcass will be laying by the side. Okay, 27 to 30 is green for love. And he spake unto his son, saying, Saddle me the ass. And they saddled him. 28. And he went and found his carcass cast in the way, and the ass and the lion standing by the carcass. The ass and the lion were still standing by that carcass when the old prophet got to the prophet of Judah. And the ass and the lion standing by the carcass. The lion had not eaten the carcass, nor torn the ass. The lion had not eaten the carcass of the man, nor he had attacked the ass. The ass was very safe that day, and that was a strange sight indeed. 29. And the prophet took up the carcass of the man of God and laid it upon the ass and brought it back. And the old prophet came to the city to mourn and to bury him. 30. And he laid his carcass in his own grave, and they moaned. Apparently, it must have been not just him by himself, the old prophet, but the prophet and his sons. And he laid his carcass in his own grave, and they moaned over him, saying, Alas, my brother! Exclamation mark. Okay. So I'm sure that old prophet felt some kind of guilt there, because I'm sure he felt that it was his fault, because he had came to the prophet of Judah and told him a lie and caused the prophet to come away from the path that he was walking and accompany him to his house to do that which he was supposed to do: eat bread and drink water. Okay? And it came to pass after he had buried him that he spake to his son, saying, When I am dead, then bury me in the sepulchre wherein the man of God is buried. Lay my bones beside him. 32. For the saying which he cried by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel, and against all the house of the high places which were in the cities of Samaria, shall surely come to pass. So everything the prophets had said in the house of the Lord, and what he has said in the house of the Lord. In verse 2, he said, Behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Joshua by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and the man's bones shall be burnt unto thee. And then he said, and he gave a sign. And the sign, he said in verse 3, he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which the Lord has spoken. Behold, the altar will be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. So in verse 33, the old prophet is saying that whatever the prophet said before will surely come to pass. For it says, For the sayings which he cried by the Lord, by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel, and against all the houses of the high places which are in the cities of Samaria, shall surely come to pass. And 33 and 34 are black again for sin. After this day, Jeroboam returned, not from his evil way, but made again of the lowest of the people priest of the high places, whosoever would. He consecrated him, and he became one of the priests of the high places. So that's like going into the poorest area of town, getting some homeless people. Okay, the lowest will be the homeless people, a couple crackheads, a couple winos, cleaning them up and putting on priestly robes, consecrating them and making them priests. That's what he did. So he continued in his old evil ways, the king Jeroboam. Now the king Jeroboam had an extensive history of doing that which was evil. I think we read that. I read that to you. He had a history of disobeying the Lord, and I read that to you before. My book is not near me. Okay, but I did read that to you yesterday. The history of Jeroboam. Okay, and after this thing, Jeroboam returned, not from his evil way, but made again of the lowest of the people priest of the high places, whosoever would. He consecrated him, and he became one of the priests of the high places. Okay, 34. And this thing became sin unto the house of Jeroboam, even to cut it off and to destroy it from off the face of the earth. So sometimes things can happen to people, like the situation in the house of the Lord with Jeroboam and his hand that became totally unusable because he tried to stretch out his hand and touch that prophet of the Lord. You would think that after that he would have been more so keen into paying attention to the ways of God, but no, it did not. Some people just never learn. Some people are like the Israelites that come out of Egypt. They are continuously going around that mountain all the days of their life. They never really learn from their lessons. They repent for a while and they're good for a while, and then next thing you know they're sinning again, and the sin that they did before is worse than the sin that they did prior. So the sins continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, till finally God just gets so fed up with the people that he has selected and saved out of the hands of the Egyptians, he began to hate them himself. And the people of this earth are just like that. They continue to do evil. They instead of repenting and recognizing that there is only one God, one nation, one Son, they continue to have their way in this world that does not belong to them. We are pilgrimage here in this world. We are only here for a little while. While we are here, we are given a set of rules and a set of commandments that we are to follow by so that we can remain in the good graces of God. But if we take these rules and we shove them under a rug and we throw them to the side, throw them to the curb like they did with the stones in the courthouse in Oklahoma that had the 10 Commandments on it, those 10 Commandments were in that courthouse for years. It meant something to them. There were certain judges that were fighting to keep those 10 Commandments where they were, and there were others that were fighting to put the 10 Commandments out on the curb. Well, the 10 Commandments ended up out on the curb, and that is the ways of man, and it's been happening for years. For years, America needed to take and divide church from the state. And in order for them to be able to accomplish the evil deeds that they have accomplished today, they needed to divide the church from state. That was a motive for the things that are happening today. Okay, if you divide the church from the state, then we can have our way, and we can start doing this, and we can start doing that, and it happened. It went from dividing church from state to outlawing prayer in school to allowing this and allowing that. Now you have Gays' Rights Day, you have lesbian gays rights rate, you have all these things going on. You have transgenders that you think about now. If someone would have said something 60 years ago and said one day you will have two of the same sexes get married, it would have been unbelievable. But the nation was gearing towards this long ago before it even happened. And history tells you all the things that have been happening on this earth. Do you know that it took 145 years? Is it 145 years, Father? No. It took 75 or 76 years for women to vote. Okay? It's been 145 years that this country has been holding on to the last tradition that they have had. They have been holding on tight, trying to do away with this, do away with that. But this here, we're going to hold on to it. You know what they've been fighting for 145 years? To make a woman a president. This has been a 145-year fight. When I was born in 63, it was 91 years they've been fighting. Women have been on the ballot since 1872. women did not start voting until 1920. In 1890, in New Zealand, were the first ones to allow women to vote. 27 years later, in 1920, then the women in the United States of America were allowed to vote. But way before they were allowed to vote, the first woman on the ballot was in 1872. Women weren't even allowed to vote in 1872. But there was a woman there, I believe her name was Victoria Woodburn. I believe her name was, I hope I'm right. She was the first woman on the ballot in 1872. Okay, women did not begin voting until 1890 in New Zealand and in 1920. Since they began to vote, since 1872, they have been trying to get into that White House. It is a tradition that the kings of this earth have been men. It is a tradition that the leaders of this country have been men. And this is the smallest tradition that America has been trying to hold on to for 145 years. When you go around and changing the natural order of things, it just makes things worse. It doesn't make it any better. And it came to a point where, and you know how desperate America is, when it came to a point where there was a black man and a woman going for the White House, the Americans chose the black man over the woman. That just goes to tell you how they are trying to hold on to some form of tradition. But the greatest tradition that they have let go is the religious tradition. That's what you have let go. Okay? But this here thing that women have been trying to do for 145 years, it is not a good thing. Women cannot do everything men can do. Point blank, period. God himself made the earth, the firmament, the sky, the moon, the Milky Way. Then he made all of the beasts in the world, from the smallest to the ones that we have yet to discover. He made all them first. Then he made the man, the last, and the man came with the seed, because the man carries the seed. Okay? He made all of this. The last thing he made was the woman. Why? Why should that woman suddenly come first? Absolutely not. That is ungodly. It is ungodly. And I'm telling you, America, you heard it in spiritual water. When that day finally comes, when the Lord lets you have your way, and you get that woman as a president, all hell will break out on this earth. All hell, like you never seen it, in biblical proportion. You will not be ready to receive it. So it is not good to change the order of things. It is not good to take a woman and transform it into a man, or a man and transform it into a woman. It is not good to mix seeds together. It is not good to mix a buffalo with a cow. It tells you in the Bible not to do these things. But all of these rules, they have broken. Forsaking God is the worst thing we could do. Okay, you got America, who has one more thing that they are trying to hold on, that is going to come to an end soon. And when it does, America, God will punish us dearly for that. Okay, and that's why the emergency preparedness thing has been on my spirit. He put it on my spirit to warn the people. He gives us more than enough time before he does his thing. So for those who are ignoring it, you will suffer the price for it. For those of you who hear it, you will be blessed by it. Okay? That will be all for today. I have something else that I'd like to share with you, but I don't have it in my possession right now. It is food. This food has a lifespan of 25 years. America, you need to stack up on this stuff here. Okay, I will have that for you tomorrow. I will even have an example of one of the packages that was sent to me. Okay, I will show the book to you. I will give you the phone numbers that you can call and order your food and keep this stuff just stacked up. Because when all hell breaks out, you're going to need it. All right? In the meantime, may the peace of God be upon thee. Before we do that, let's finish it from here. 2 Kings 13. It says, we'll start from 23 here. When the man of God had finished eating and drinking, the prophet who had brought him back saddled his donkey for him. For 24. As he went on his way, a lion met him on the road and killed him, and his body was thrown down on the ground, with both the donkey and the lion standing beside it. 25. Some people who passed by and saw the body thrown down there with the lion standing beside the body, and they went and reported it in the city where the old prophet lived. 26. When the people who had brought him back from his journey heard of it, he said, "It is the man of God who defiled the word of the Lord. The Lord has given him over to the lion, which had mutilated him and killed him, as the word of the Lord had warned him." 27. The prophet said to his son, "Saddle the donkey for me," and they did so. 28. When he went out and found the body thrown down on the ground with the donkey and the lion stand beside it, the lion had neither eaten the body nor mauled the donkey. 29. So the prophet picked up the body of the man of God, laid it on the donkey, and brought it back to his own city to mourn for him and bury him. 30. Then he laid the body in his own tomb, and they mourned over him and said, "Oh, my brethren!" Exclamation mark. 31. After burying him, he said to his sons, when I die, bury me in the grave where the man of God is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones. 32. For the message he declared by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel and against all the shrines on the high places in the town of Samaria were certainly come to pass. 33. Even after this, Jeroboam did not change his evil ways, but once more appointed priests for the high places from all sorts of people. Anyone who wanted to become a priest, he consecrated for the high places. 34. This was the sin of the house of Jeroboam that led to its downfall and its destruction from the face of the earth. And this is where America is heading. Okay. Like it or not, facts are facts. And there is a terrible price to pay. Terrible price to pay for sinning against the God of hosts, the God of this universe, the God that made everything that you can see, the God that created that creature you love so much, that you adore so much, but you don't adore the Creator, but you adore everything the Creator has made. Okay? The God that we have turned our backs on. Okay? You like those pastors and priests that go around raping your sons. You like those pastors and priests that go around batting the women in the congregation. Those are the ones you listen to. You like the priests and the pastors that use not the word of God, but use their own words, which is called babbling. You will pay a price for liking that which is false. So I hope you got something out of it. I hope that what you hear in Spiritual Water will help you to think about your own life, the things that you're doing, and how you want to be on the right side of the Lord instead of on the wrong side. Because on his right, he will have who? His sheep will be on his right, and on his left will be the goats. Let it be that you be among the sheep on the right. Thank you very much for listening to Spiritual Water. My name is Brenda Guerrero, and may the peace of God be upon thee. May the protection of God surround thee, and may the will of God for thy life come from thee. Until the next time, have a beautiful day.